How is everybody doing? Sunday night craziness in the market. We'll see how things are going to go. All right. How's everybody doing? Please hit the like, then more people can see the video. So, there's a lot going on with commodities right now. With silver's up 2.7%, and gold up 1.95%, and nickel's up 1.92%. It's pretty wild out there. Pretty wild out there. Some noise in the background, so apologize for that. But with commodities, I'm just want to talk with everybody tonight, and just kind of talk it through, getting ready for the next week. Things should be very wild. There's a lot to discuss, so it's going to be very interesting. Basically, what's going on is they want to do 50% basis point with the rate cut. Believe it's like March 17th, so that's going to be very big, and it's going to affect things. Like they're working towards like negative interest rates, which makes it so that all the money wants to flow into Wall Street. But there's so much negative headlines that it's just like it's a tug of war, right? So the last week was just like negative headlines with the coronavirus, and I mean we're just starting the evening, right? It's 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 Eastern Time. There's going to be a lot more news, I'm sure, in the next like 6 hours or so. But I just wanted to get people up to speed, and I'd love to hear what other people have to say. Hit the like as well, I appreciate it. And we're just discussing basically that crude is kind of coming back from the dead, and I did a chart on Twitter, and the resistance point was like 45.18, and now it's at 45.73 right this minute. So it's interesting. I mean, they're obviously pumping a lot of liquidity, some stuff with like the federal banks, central banks, just to ensure that crude goes up, so that because if crude goes up, then the SPY is going to go up. If crude goes down, most likely gold's going to go up. So they don't want that. They don't want you to put your money into Bitcoin. They don't want you to put your money into gold. They don't want you to put your money into silver. They don't want you to put your money into platinum, things like that, right? They want you to just buy like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon. That's their main focus. So it's interesting. I mean, there's people down below. They're having a little party. So, yeah, I mean, basically on Friday, the end of the day was very wild. Basically, what happened at the end of Friday was they call it Wood Row, where all the Fed and the central banks, they start buying the crap out of these companies, and then it pushes the prices up, and they just kind of like work in tandem, and then it just pushes the stock up. So that's what's going to happen throughout the week, because Trump, he's admitted like this is his stock market, so anything good or bad is lays on him. So it's in his best interest. He wants the SPY to keep continually going up. So if it doesn't continually go up, then he looks dumb. So that's just the reality of things. And yeah, I mean, things are going to be very interesting. There's just a lot of force between they did what they do, like 750 million ounces of silver contracts. And last week they were like paper contracts, they were shorting the shit out of it, and it took down silver like hardcore. There's reports saying, oh well, it has to do with margin calls, because when if say if you own a lot of stock of Apple and then you lose all your money or whatever, if you bought it at the top or whatever, and there's these margin calls. But I'm not incredibly buying that whole situation. A lot to me, it's just to do with the central banks and the Fed and all that stuff to try to crush silver and gold, because they want all the money to just flood into the stock market. And then the SPY will go to like 340, 350, so that's their whole focus, and we will see. But yeah, I mean, basically, gold's kind of coming up. There's a lot because they're talking about the rate cut come March 17th or so. So that's probably what they're going to be doing. But it's going to be definitely interesting. Yeah, so my website broker on investing.com is pretty slow, so trying to look at the charts. But I mean, I was just looking at it, basically nickel, and you got copper, it's kind of coming up, and then silver is coming up. Like everything's going up, but it's just in the early innings of the night. So I mean, it's really hard to like figure out the direction, but we'll see early morning how things are going to shake out. But this is just preparation for the week ahead. And I kind of predict that if the crude starts like really spiking, which there's a potential, it could just like really spike, because they can do like OPEC cuts where they don't use a lot of oil, like they're not getting a lot out of the ground out in Saudi Arabia, and then the oil price will go up because there's cuts. And then if they do anything, say like Trump wants to attack in Iran or whatever, then that'll push the price up of oil. So I'd expect things like that can definitely happen in the foreseeable future. So we'll see. It's definitely interesting. If you got any things you want me to talk about, just leave it in the comments section right here, and I can address them for sure. I got no problem talking about some things you guys want to talk about for sure. Basically, there's this Syntron research company that I'm also going to be looking at this week. I believe it's SDGR. Let me go to the website. SDGR. And Bill Gates is connected with that company. And Andrew Leff thinks it's like he puts an $80 price target. I mean, I'm not advertising like, oh yeah, for sure, because Citron Research, Andrew Leff thinks it's a good buy, that it's a good buy. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they could potentially push it up, especially because it's connected with Bill Gates, and he's one of those elite guys, so the elite guys kind of just like run the show, if there's like things that they just let them kind of run the show. It's just they have like so much power on the markets, because like guys like Elon Musk, well, Elon Musk not really at that same level as Bill Gates, but I'm talking about the Jeff Bezos. I'm talking about like Mark Zuckerberg. Well, he's not really liked, I guess, by Trump and the regime, but other people are. So I don't know. It'd be interesting for sure. Oh my god. Kid needs to shut the F up. Some kids are like so spoiled, right? They just don't shut up. So they just like get everything they need, right? Like they complain or whatever, and then just the world just gives them whatever they want, right? Because the more they whine, it's like, so it's the same really with the market, right? Because if the market doesn't get the rate cut, yay, she's leaving. It's a little spoiled brat kid. But anyways, if the market doesn't get the rate cut, then it just wants to sell down, especially with this coronavirus thing. I mean, I discussed it in my videos. I had a video, I was driving around for 12 minutes yesterday, talk a lot about that stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty wild. But basically, like companies like Anheuser-Busch, the biggest alcohol company, already talking about losing $270 million in revenue for the first 2 months and 170 million in EBITDA. So that's very substantial losses for the company. So um, we're just like getting to the levels. So I mean, things can get so much worse. I mean, Monday doesn't mean shit. If the market's up like a lot on Monday, that doesn't mean shit because you gotta just like watch things. Things will be so crazy, like big swings. I believe there's gonna be a lot of moves with that, with the volatility, with the UVXY. So it'll be interesting. Gold's chilling at about 1595, and crude's really, they're really pumping crude. Holy shit, 45.88. So that's definitely interesting to watch. Crude coming up. That's yeah, that's crazy. But now that crude's coming up, then maybe gold will go down. But I don't know. Last week was really interesting. We had Valens financials, we had GW Pharma's financials, we had IIPR's financials. I haven't done a report card series for IIPR. I did like their financials for the most part. Yeah, we even had MedMan. I think we had Acreage, but I could be wrong. But yeah, a lot of companies put their financials coming up in March. There's going to be True Leave, excuse me, and there's going to be MetaPharm Labs. Hello, James Rossman. How are you doing? Yes, my opinion on the effect of rate cuts with the Fed. My opinion on the rate cuts with the Fed are that it has an effect that the price should go up because it's easing, but it also loses confidence for the it's showing like the more they're doing this stuff, the more that there's like cracks in the whole financial system. So it'll go up like short term, but then it'll crash down. I mean, they just have to print so much amounts of money. That's how they kept the SPY up on Friday. I mean, they just bought so much and they taped the close. If you were watching like Apple or any stock, like big stock, you could just see like the momentum building at the end of the day. And that was just like all the Fed and the big banks corroborating with each other. And they were just buying the crap out of it. So yeah, I think it's definitely like it's what the market wants to see, the rate cuts, but at the same time, it's just never enough. And basically, some of these stocks are just way too overvalued, like companies like AMD and some other things. I mean, they, especially like if you look at the whole system, because it's not just the rate cut that you have to like value as far as the whole systematic thing. It's basically it's China. Like I'm not like super hyped on this whole coronavirus and stuff like that. It's all like, to me it's a lot of like fear. But I mean, yeah, maybe people are getting sick and stuff, but at the same token, what China is doing, like my dad talks to someone from China, and she said that she was only, it was like either once a day or once a week she's able to get outside their house for 1 hour and get groceries. And she was like uh out for like 50 minutes later than that, and she got in trouble with like police forces from the Chinese government. And yeah, but basically she was just like 15 minutes later. So what that's doing is, just imagine if you're in Canada or USA, like whatever city, and the whole government tells you you can't leave anywhere only 1 hour a day, and you're stuck in your house. You really can't, like, when people go out and about, they spend money. If I'm in my house and I'm just sitting around and I'm watching TV, how much money are you spending? Sure, you're eating some food and stuff like that. But when you go outside your house, people buy clothes, People spend money on gas. People spend money on, like, going to movies, like all these extracurricular activities that uh, that they're not doing right now. So the spending and the basically, like, China is such a huge economy because it's got over 1 billion people. So that's like 15% of the whole global population. So companies like who are in China is really bad for their whole revenues. So it's not like it's just, oh, it's the virus that's bad for the stock market. It's the fact that it's financials. It's all going to be aligned with the financials. So sure, it can go up a little bit, but if the negative risk like piles on, I believe the stock market can go down a lot further. So yeah, thanks for your comment. Yeah, it's an interesting insight. Yeah, no, listen, I listened to a lot of smart people on YouTube, guys like Greg Manarino and some other people who are like have a lot more knowledge than me. James Rossman says the U.S. is covering up true numbers of cases. They will start announcing cases this week. Fear will spread. Prices will plunge. Yeah, I think you're right. They're trying to juice the markets and make it like appetizing for people on Monday, and that they're like, oh well, it's not like, because if they didn't juice the amount of craziness that's gone on over already this week on the TSX, it was closed for like 2 hours or something like that. You couldn't trade stocks for 2 hours because they were like so fearful of people just selling the crap out of it. That's what I think. Um, and they can say, oh, it's an overload of shares being traded, but I don't necessarily buy that. But who knows? Yeah, so fear will spread, prices will plunge. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna try to do. It's called the plunge protection, and they're all connected with the Fed in the USA, and they're gonna go out of their way to try to keep the market up. But there's like a lot of downward pressure, and so if all these institutions are like, no, fuck this, and then they just like pile in and they short the whole SPY down, then that's when it's going to have some really devastating days. I mean, last week was wild. So who knows, man. It Yeah, the covering up of cases. Yeah, I mean, I obviously Trump doesn't want people to be fearful. He wants people to spend money because a jeopardy of him not winning the next election is based if the SPY and all these companies start like really like detracting and making America not look great, because his focus was like make America great again. So if all this like devastating things on all these companies, then he's gonna look like a freaking schmuck. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting. I'm gonna be watching companies like mRNA because they just got a lot of cash from um, financials, and they were oversubscribed, and they already had like a lot of cash to begin with, but at the same time they have gone up a lot. So who knows? I mean, you don't want to just buy it at the high of the day if you were to buy it or whatever, but I'm going to be looking at that, and that Schrodinger's company, and just looking at gold and silver. But at the same token, I mean, they can just flip it on its head and it could have like 3, 4, 5 hours or like a couple of days of really bullish sentiment in the market, and people are like, oh well, the coronavirus is going away, all this stuff like that. But then before you know it, it'll come back, because whether it's the virus or it's just financials, it's going to get affected. um, hey JG, how are you doing? It's good to see you coming in. Yeah, no. Yeah, no, it's gonna have effect because the biggest companies in America, such as Apple, and there's like 3M, there's all these other companies that work, they have their facilities in China. So just think about it. I mean, they can say like, oh well, these people at work aren't they don't have the virus or something like that. But I mean, if you have the virus and you have to pay rent, are you going to tell your employer that you have the virus? And then they can be like, oh well, we checked them or whatever. But how good is this kit or whatever the case? I mean, it just I don't trust all this stuff. I mean, I'm not really like buying the whole virus thing. I mean, actually, my thesis is it's like I heard like some information that it was like a bio thing that happened from the lab, and then it was just dispersed. But again, I don't want to get too far down that rabbit hole. I don't want to scare you guys and stuff. But regardless, that it's definitely a fear for all the companies that are in China, because basically it just really slows things down. Not as many workers can come to work, and it's just bad for the whole economy. I can't put it into like all these words and stuff, but it's just going to be bad. I mean, any company, it's going to have effects on all the pharmaceutical companies. They're not going to be able to move as much products. Like, not as much stuff's going to be able to come into Canada or USA from China. So that's kind of good for Trump. I mean, if he was able to like flip this around, and he could say, or he's like, we're just going to print all this money, and then you're going to bring all the companies back to USA, and with these incentives and stuff, and then it's like, oh, all these facilities are going to be built in USA and all stuff. Like, I mean, maybe that'll have a really good positive spin, and then China's their economy would be worsened, because they're in like this China trade war as well with USA. So I mean, it's like a whole web of it's a whole cluster fuck. I mean, there's no other words. Like, what's going on right now with the China trade war, as well as this stuff going on, like it's messed up. JG says, anything you need directly from China, you better get it now. It will slow it. I mean, um, my dad was telling me that with the SARS, okay, so I've been around for like 35 years. I'm almost 35. I'll be in like less than a year. I'll be 35. But regardless, though, um, the SARS was in like 2002, right? But my dad was saying that SARS wasn't it wasn't like a global thing. I mean, like the whole economy wasn't global really back then, you know. Now it's a lot more global economy where, Starbucks has lots of business in China. More companies have their businesses in China. All the factories now are in China. They didn't used to be as much before, so it's different. uh JG says, anything, yeah. JG says, USA will build everything we can do it. Yeah, no, man, I support that entirely, for sure. I support that. We will see. But at the same token, it costs money to construct facilities in China. And if you look at the systematic risk, if say Apple, they spent like 25 billion or 2 billion or 3 billion, whatever, building their facilities in China, and then they said like, no, we're just gonna shut that down. That's like, if they own that facility, that'll be like a written down on their assets, right? So it'll impair them. So say they made like, I don't know, like 5 billion. I forget what their last quarter was for how much in net income, but say they make 5 billion, and then they have to write down like 2 billion, then it's going to be like only 3 billion. So their earnings will suck. So I'm not like trying to hype this coronavirus. That's not my like take. My whole take is the fact that this is affecting the financials in these companies, and we haven't seen the company's financials, right? So we're in just in the early start of March, and we've had 2 months. And I got like I just watched, like I listened on Anheuser-Busch's website. It's talking about how their financials were down 270 million in revenue and 170 million in EBITDA in the first 2 months. So because nobody's leaving their house, they're not buying beer, they're not going about. So JG says, I'd rather pay 2 times more for American. It will last 5 times as long as China junk. Listen, I agree 100%, JG. I would rather have more of a like a nationalistic kind of world where we don't like support other economies. We build our own economy up. So yeah, I think it's better. But now the virus is going everywhere. So if they choose it in like Vietnam, then there's going to be problems there. So who knows, man? It's a confusing subject. James Rossman says they will delay the fall as long as they can for sure. It will happen at once when people start realizing that Trump can't do much in these conditions. James Rossman, I agree. I think I respect your opinion. I think you have lots of great points in what you're trying to say. I agree. Um, yeah, no, listen, I think I'm happy. I got some very smart viewers that they understand these things. I know I was like, I didn't want to fall into this like trap with this coronavirus and like, obsess about it. But now that you're seeing like the devastating like last Monday, then it's like, oh shit, like this is actually going to affect the financials hardcore. And it's there. What's the flight to safety? I mean, cash is the flight to safety in the whole scheme of things, if you think about it, because say if company XYZ, if they're worth like $10 and the greatest company in the world, and all of a sudden then they go down to like $3 or $2. Well, in 5 or 10 years, is that company going to be worth more than $10, right? After this thing all blows over, they're going to be worth like 20 or 30, right? So they have the chance to make more money and there's less risk over time. But that's why you want to have cash for when things are really low later on in some of these best companies in the S&P 500 and just in other industries too. I mean, the miners are getting crushed. You got copper company like what's it? Freeport McMoran. They do copper and gold, and they've been getting crushed because the copper price is going down because they're just not building a lot in China right now because things are just like completely slowed down. That's what it's doing. China's like the wheelhouse as far as the whole economy, and now that they're slowing down, the whole world's going to slow down. But that's what people don't realize. Like it's going to affect, I think it's going to really crush a lot of real estate because it's going to affect the whole economy. um James Rossman says, "Sub, love your level-headed view. You have great outlooks and opinions." Hey, James Rossman, I appreciate your support. Yes, at this channel, I don't try to hype things up. I'm just kind of just try to be level-headed, and you know, I'm never going to be right all the time. I just want to get ready for the next stage because things are changing. Whether you're investing into cannabis or you're investing into commodities, that's what I talk a lot about, or you're looking into options like puts, or you're looking into the biggest companies like Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon. I support whatever you want to do. You want to buy things low level, and then whether you're a trader or you're a long-term investor, just I don't try to advise as far as the FOMO thing. I know a lot of people like to play the momentum thing. You can, if you do the you can do stop losses and all that stuff. But yeah, let's go move along. JG says there was 500 more cases in Italy and North Korea overnight. That's not good. Need to stay home and away from crowds. Yeah, yeah, no, it's crazy because you know I've been studying the maps, right? And it was mainly just to do with cannabis. I just wanted to see the whole globe. I mean, I've looked on maps before, the spinning ones, but regardless, that I've been doing that a lot because when you look at Europe and stuff like that, and you realize, oh, it's pretty close to China and it's pretty close to Russia, that these are big places with high populations. So yeah, no, it can definitely get affected for all these places across. So yeah, Italy is very close to China and stuff like that. So JG says CISG will rock your skull. Shaka, thanks. Yeah, no, man, it's good. I've been having a lot of good support. I've been doing this for 3 years, pretty much. Well, maybe it was like 2017 or 2018. I did videos first on commodities, rhodium and palladium and copper were the first commodities that I started talking about. And rhodium was a really good investment. I didn't invest into it, but yeah, no, I've been following the cannabis companies very, very much. But I also, when gold and silver and crude, when if crude is going to go bump up because of all this hype, then companies like Suncor, SU in Canada and America are where you want to be. But the things are just like so up and down and up and down. You really need to just like take your profits. You can't just on these commodities. I mean, sure, people who hold on to Apple and Tesla when those things went up like, two, three, four times for Tesla, cash down to like 15%. So you just got it. Like, I don't know. I've been following the Bollinger Bands a lot lately. So that's kind of my indicator of choice. When I'm seeing with Tesla, when it was at like 965, that was like way high on the Bollinger Bands. So, I mean, sure, it can go higher, but at the same token, the risk reward was shit. So, James Rossman says, what do you think about crypto in this situation? I personally think more money will flow in as fears rise, driving the price up. XRP is interesting as banks are starting to opt in. Yeah, I'm not a crypto crazy enthusiast, but I do have some knowledge about crypto. I think it's not a bad place to invest, but um, I'm more kind of focused on the gold. I like the gold and the silver trade. I just think that's more realistic right now. But at the same time, I don't think if the chart looks very good on Bitcoin and you can make money on Bitcoin or Ethereum, then sure. No, JG. I don't think it's necessarily a bad trade to be in crypto. Uh, but it's different. I mean, it trades differently than gold and silver, but if you make money on as far as XRP, I do know what you're talking about. The banks are starting to opt in. I mean, yeah, maybe that's the place to be. I'm not the expert on all that stuff, but I'm more if I was to invest into Bitcoin, I wouldn't do it on the wallet or anything like that. I would just buy GBTC, the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. That's what I would do. Or I would do the Ethereum Trust, and then I would just ride the upside. But I haven't decided to do that, and I don't think that's bad. There's other people out there that are saying high blockchain for stock, but I've read their financials and I wasn't very impressed. I mean, sure, maybe they'll surprise and they'll do some good things, so we'll see. JG says nice 5.09% divvy on Suncor. Yeah, see that's the thing. That's what if people want to build a dividend growth portfolio, right now is a really good time to build a dividend growth portfolio, not like today or tomorrow necessarily. I mean, if you were to scale in, what I'm trying to say is that when the price goes down a lot, so say a stock's at $100 and their dividends like say $3, um, $3 per year. Now, when the price goes down to $80, the price of the dividend is still going to be $3. So your dividend yield will go up. Then it'll be like closer to like 4%, right? So that's where it's good to have the dividends when the stock goes down a lot. So as long as the company's not going bankrupt or anything like that, then it's not a bad place. But I mean, I wouldn't buy the Suncor just because I don't know. I guess I would play it for a sure turn, and I've made money on doing calls, like short-term calls, like one strike out of the money for like a month or two. But I bought the stock a long time ago. And JG says I stay away from crypto, not for me. James Rossman says the fundamentals behind XRP are interesting. Yeah, no, listen, I think you're right. I think they are interesting. I just personally can't advocate that I'd buy XRP. But yeah, we'll see. I think I've learned my mistakes over the years, and my mistakes were for trying to find the underdog all the time. If there's no real, I mean, if I don't know the edge and I don't understand that stuff, there's only so much stuff I'm going to be able to understand in the market. I don't care if you're freaking Wayne Gretzky or George Soros or Bill Gates or whoever, some top elite guy. You're never going to know everything about every industry, right? There's a reason why um, Berkshire Hathaway, they get so much like respect, but the same token, they didn't buy like Apple or Amazon until it became like over $1,000 for Amazon, or Apple when it was like $200 or something, right? They're behind the eight ball because the mass majority of the times when you try to find like a small company, it ends up being a failure. So that's why in any industry, it's better to just stick with the kingpins, the big guys with the cash and all the big contracts and all that stuff. And they're doing big business because those are the ones that are going to be around if there's a recession, if things start getting crushed. So you have a lot. You're protecting your risk. JG says, yeah, I've done GBTC. Yeah, no, I don't think GBTC. If you see Bitcoin going up, then you can ride GBTC and make some money. So I don't think that's a bad idea at all. But as far as the silver ETFs, I'm not really fond of them. But I got these. I got these. I bought some stuff because I don't really want to go to the store. I live in a pretty remote place, but you know, things could go wild. If there's all this fear on the news, I mean, the guy I'm living with, he's like listening to the news on the coronavirus all the time. So he's like getting fear instilled in his head. So just imagine if you go to the grocery store one day and there's like some crazy announcement, say like outside of the airport, like 100 kilometers from you, there's like 1,000 reports of coronavirus. Like, just imagine the magnitude of all that fear that would be funneled throughout the area that you live in. And then you try to go to the grocery store and you're like, people are just freaking out. They've taken everything within earshot. Then you're going to have to like go to the next grocery store and you're not going to be able to find anything. So I just bought some groceries and I'll be buying water, stack up some water. Hell, I'll drink it sometime if whatever. I don't think it's something's gonna get that crazy, but whatever. James Rossman says, "What's your outlook on bio companies right now?" Well, I think bio companies are definitely have potential, but we just don't know necessarily how it's gonna work out. Bio companies are very sketchy for this coronavirus. If there's great news on it, then sure you can make money on the upside. So say if there's like a lot of fear going on, and this is like mRNA would probably be the one to watch, or that I think it's the SDGR that Schrodinger is potentially. There's some other ones. I'm not like super intense with that. I just looked at mRNA and I saw that they had a lot of cash position and they just raised a lot of money. So I feel good about that stance. But then there's other companies who are like pharmaceutical, like Sanofi, that's connected with like one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies, and they're working on some type of vaccine, but they're also connected with pharmaceutical stuff. So there's negative side because probably their factories could be in China or something like that. So it's been going down a little bit. So it's super hazy as far as the biosphere. As far as the bios like gets into everything. I'm talking about like in cannabis in the future's going to be connected with the bio. So I mean, yeah, it can have a day in the sunshine, but those ones to me are very risky unless they have a lot of cash. So yeah. JG says, I went and got some groceries, not a bunch. I already have a lot, kind of. Yeah, no, I wish I was in my mom's shoes. She's pretty much got like 6 months of just frozen goods in her freezer. So she wants to have some soup. Like, she's set. She has like food, like she's got stacks of food, right? Because she goes to Costco and she buys like tons and she doesn't eat a lot of food, but she just like when they're on sale, she gets it. um, Another thing is too, if I'm open for the SPY to rock it up. I'm not like, yeah, I'm on some of my videos lately. I've been sounding pretty bearish, but I have a lot of long positions in like a lot. But so uh, if the crude does start going up a lot, when you're buying gas, it's going to be a lot more expensive as well. So I bought some gas today. I mean, I just needed gas, but on top of that, it's not the worst day to buy gas because gas has gone down a lot in the last week or two. So, it's trading at like $45 crude WTI. So you're going to get cheaper gas at the gas station as well. So that's a bonus. JG says anything that you can use after the virus passes, you can buy extra because you will use it. Exactly, man. Exactly. I love it. No, that's right. This is I was thinking about making this my background. It's got these little I just need to get a pin thingy. So then I have like birds like this and stuff for my month. We'll see. I like birds. I don't know if you guys care about that, but just to make my background a little bit nicer. So if it was like right behind here and it was just a pin, so something I might do. I just haven't gotten a pin yet. So yep. Let's look at what's going on. Crude. Holy shit. Crude. Yeah, crude's coming up, man. Or if there's women in here, women. But man, when I check my analytics, there's seriously no women. There's no women that ever watch my show. It shows that there's like 25 to 34-year-olds that's who watch my show, and there's like 60% from Canada and like 30% from USA. And yeah, it's interesting, but like zero women. And but I've had women comment, but somehow like the YouTube algorithm never says that there's like women that watch my show. So yeah, no, I like birds. I love birds. I think they're awesome. So McDonald's got $1 coffee right now in Canada. I don't know if it's in USA, but out where I'm at, you can get any size coffee for $1. And iced coffee is on sale as well. So that's pretty cool. JG says, cool, yeah, would be awesome. And JG, who told you first oil would come up? Who told me that oil would come up? I don't know. I've been having discussions with people on Twitter. I'm bearish on the whole fact that oil is going to go down, but I was like in the back of my head, I'm also thinking that they're going to try to do types of manipulation to bring the price of oil up. So I'm open to the idea, but sure, I'll give you props. JG, you're the man. You told me you're the man. Yeah, no, you probably did. I don't remember everything. Talked to a lot of people on Twitter, but yeah, we've been having a lot of good chats on Twitter for sure. So it's great. Uh, but yeah, it's interesting because crude's coming up like 3.22%. I just don't think it's gonna stay up. I just don't think it's gonna stay up. I think it's eventually gonna come down. We got a lot of hours in the day. Last week, gold went crazy high. It went to 16. It was like 1680, right? And then before in the morning, that started coming down to like 1650, 1630, and then it started, and then before the end of the week, it started going to like 1550, right? So I could kind of I had it on Twitter. I was like, the gold's gonna go down. So this whole seeing this oil coming up, but we will see. James Rossman says, crazy how cheap food and drinks are in the USA. I'm from the UK, living in Germany, and you'll pay $5 for a simple coffee here. Oh wow, that's crazy. $5 for a simple coffee here. Yeah, no, man. Actually, you can pay a lot of money for coffees here as well. A lot of places, like Starbucks is generally around like I want to say about $3 after taxes. And then there's other companies like Second Cup, and they're like 360, 375 for coffees. So yeah, you can pay a lot more. Now, if you're buying it at McDonald's, usually the coffee's anywhere from like 135 to like $2. and Tim Hortons is kind of like a little more expensive, maybe 150 to like 220 or something like that for coffee. But if you buy it at 7-Eleven, it's saying like $2, but at nicer coffee shops they charge more money. So, but yeah, McDonald's just got a really good deal on right now for $1 coffee. The Arabica, they basically got the same coffee as Tim Hortons as far as I'm aware of. So um, JG says there's big insiders buying BG. What is BG? SMPL AQB. So let me look at that. BG Bungie Limited. Why would they be buying Bungie Limited? The hell does Tyson stock? Bungie Limited. The hell is that? SMPL. JG, he loves the bio stuff. I just think it's such a the bio stuff's just so sketchy. But you can make money if you really are on your ball with bio stuff. The Simply Foods Good Company. They got a pretty high PE ratio though, so I'm not sure how bullish I'd be on that situation. AQB. Yeah, if you guys just came in, if you guys got any comments you want me to talk about, just leave it in the comment section. I have no problem trying my best to answer your questions. And then, there's other people in the chat as well. So maybe we can all help each other out so we're more wiser at the end of this chat. So, let's go. So, yeah, AQB, I'd appreciate if you hit the thumbs up too. Helps with the algorithms and all that crap. So I appreciate that. Bungie. So AQB, Aqua Bounty. AQB. Yeah, maybe AQB. AQB's got a 56 million market cap. So we will see. So yeah, thanks for the 6 likes. I appreciate that a lot. So yeah, it's really wild. Gold, crude, $46. It's just my question in my head too if is cannabis going to be a safe haven? Is it going to be a safe haven? Part of me says flower is going to be a safe haven, but there's also concerns about the vapes in a sense. I mean, I hate to say it, but where do all the vapes come from? China, So I'm just putting that out there. But Wolf of Weed Street says all the vapes are already in North America, so we'll see. And then there's all the edibles and the beverages coming about. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I mean, I think it's definitely has potential, especially if Ontario gets their shit together and says, you know what, we're gonna open up, 25 stores every week, and it's just gonna be banging, and things are just gonna heat up, and all the stocks are gonna surge because then it's more places where they can sell their cannabis. So things like that could be very positive, but we haven't really seen that momentum yet. There has been stores open in Ontario, so it's not like it's been entirely quiet, but we just don't know. Bungie, JG, what are you saying? They have bought a lot. Can you clarify? No, JG, I don't think people will quit cannabis. Yeah, no, I think flower. If companies selling lots of flower, I think they're going to sell lots more flower. And beverages and edibles, I think they'll sell more. But there's not really that many beverages. I mean, I know Tilray's got one CBD beverage on the market in East Coast, but not yet across Western Canada. And then what other things? There's the edibles, right? So JG says insiders like company owners. Yeah. So no, it's going to be interesting. I mean, buying up those 3 companies. So insiders are buying up SMPL, AQB, and Bunch. I'm gonna have to look into those. Clarify that stuff. Um, but just because an insider necessarily buys those a stock doesn't necessarily mean the stock will go up. I mean, just look at Terry Booth. He was buying stock at like 325. There's other companies. I mean, I watch a lot of the Canadian insiders, and they buy stock at a certain price, but it doesn't necessarily mean the stock's just going to go up like soon, right? That's why, I don't want to be in a position where the stock's going to go down in the near term, because I think that cash, that if you don't spend money in the market and you leave that cash there, then when a really nice opportunity presents itself, like say like Chronos, maybe they go to like $4 USD, or they go to $5 USD, or lower than that, and they're just like so cheap because when they got 1.5 billion in cash and they're doing pretty good in the Canadian market, like not as good sales as some of the other companies, but when you see opportunities like that, there's ways that you can make a lot of money, whether you're buying shares or you're buying like long-term options, that the money's better suited towards that exposure than to try to, just try to make like trades and make money on this, because it may or may not work. I mean, some people are better at this bio stuff. That's not my game. So, I mean, I applaud people if they can make lots of money doing that stuff. But, I'd have no problem if mRNA sets up that is a bio company, then I would play that bio company. But they're in a different league because they got a lot of cash position. JG says, yeah, you're right there. But they have certain things. What are going to move them, supposedly? These aren't bio stocks. Okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah, no, man. It's hard. It's hard for me. I'm kind of stubborn in my mind. Like I know my weaknesses, but it's basically that I don't want to be too open-minded with every stock that comes to me, in a bio stock especially. But in other industries, I don't want to be too open-minded, but I also want to be open-minded too, because there's opportunities if a company is really profitable. Like, think about it. If my mind was smart and it was logical and it said, Apple, they're making lots of money. Sure, they're $160 or $175 a long time ago. Well, who cares, So what? Buy 5, 10 shares of that, right? You still doubled your money, when it hit like 320 or whatever. You're close to double your money, or you made a lot of money on that. So it doesn't matter really if you buy a stock at $5 or you buy a stock at $10 or you buy a stock at $20, as long as you have a thesis that makes sense, that it can go double or it can go 50% or it can get 20%, whatever you're trying to do. It doesn't matter if it's a stock, but when you start playing with stocks that are like 0.004, then those stocks are just so freaking volatile. And they're more likely to go down than they are to go up. James Rossman says, have you looked into private jet companies? They're having a surge in sales as people fear commercial flights. That's a good idea. It's a good idea. No, I have not looked into those, but I can look into them later tonight or so if I get the time. That's a very interesting idea. Yeah, there's definitely things to think about. I mean, whether it's water, there's like Aqua Waterworks or something like that. There's a water company. I got the bookmark. Maybe I'll find it right now, of companies that are in the waterworks. Um, Best water companies of 2019, and I'm just gonna label the companies that have a ticker on this. So American Waterworks is AWK, and it's got a dividend yield of 1.7%. And back in 2019, it had a 21.9 billion market cap. And Aqua America is WTRG, and it's got a 9.9 billion market cap and a 2.1% dividend. And York Water is YORW, and it's got a 603 million market cap. So, I mean, water could definitely skyrocket in price, but we will see. It's really, my whole thesis on what's going on right now is basically it's not clear where the money wants to funnel. I mean, sure, they're gonna try to get people to go buy back into Apple, buy back into Microsoft, do all that stuff, but will it last? That's the thing. So JG says consumer defensive, good idea. What are some James? James Rossman says, I haven't looked further into names, but it's an opportunity I came across today. Yeah, I mean, you can't jump at every opportunity, but yeah, no, it doesn't hurt to look at different opportunities. And I think the more kind of opportunities you look at and you scope at, especially if you start reading the financials. Like I know for myself, when I started reading the financials, I was really fearful, right? Like reading the financials in some of these big companies like Apple or, Amazon or Google or Anheuser-Busch and Diageo and all these companies like Pepsi and stuff. But the more I kind of like, just took the courage and I started reading up on these financials and like gaining more insight, I have better understanding on what's impressive versus what's not impressive. And it also told me that a lot of these companies got a lot of debt. So, you know, there's all this fear right now in the cannabis market that there's a lot of debt on the books, but if companies do produce nice net incomes and cash flow, then that will concern will just be out the window. You're looking at Tesla. Tesla's got like 6 billion in cash, but they got like $13 billion in debt. So, you got to look at that. People are so bullish that it's going to go to $2,000, blah blah blah, but that debt's kind of going to hold them back, especially now with China, because they're probably like, as far as their production, it's probably like completely slowing down. People don't, now that people losing their jobs and stuff like that, like there's just so many repercussions that haven't been factored into a lot of people's like minds. So a lot of people aren't really like, there's like, oh, well, the market's just going to keep going up. But because they're going to pump money into the economy with these stocks, but it's not necessarily going to last a long time. It's just going to be like a pump and dump almost. I mean, that's what I think. I mean, there's reasons for the stocks to go up until the election and then maybe drop after that. But I mean, who knows? It's so confusing. James Rossman says, I haven't looked further into names, but it's an opportunity I came across. Okay. Yeah. You already said that. I keep repeating. Blah. Okay. JG says, 3 stocks insiders are snapping up. Let's look. Bunge. The first stock we'll look at is Bunge, a global player in the food and agriculture. Bunge works with oilseeds and grains used to make high protein feed for livestock, as well as edible oils for commercial. The company's Q4 beat, reporting EPS of 127 against a 22% forecast, was particularly strong. Consensus for the report was 82 EPS, so that's pretty good. Yeah, I'll look at that later, but that's cool. That's cool, JG. Appreciate that link. Cool. Good idea, James, because people, especially certain ones like doctors, big wigs, etc. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on. Yeah, the consumer defensive is really confusing, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it. But there's things. It's like water, and there's things such as like Dollar Tree, like or Dollarama, those stocks, or Walmart. But then at the same token, all their stuff comes from China, so it's like a double whammy. So just because people need to get the supplies, then are they going to be able to get the supplies? Like for now they are, but what about in 2 months, right? So we're in uncharted times. Why I'm uh cautious, right? I think the cautious approach is to just sit in cash. If you have cash around, sit in cash. Don't be in a rush to get into a trade. If you see a nice trade uh opportunity open up, then you can scale into position, but don't bet all your money on that position, because all this news is like super crazy. It's going to go up and it's going to go down. So that'll like cause you a lot of stress, I think, in your mind, just knowing that you say you bought it and then say like 20 minutes later there's some bad data and you're like, oh my God, it just went down 10% in like 2 minutes or some crap, right? So there's all that stuff going on right now. And I'm also watching gold and silver because that should be the safe haven, but they're trying to not make it so. So who knows, man? It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. I just can't. Uh, yeah, I mean, we just don't know, but we're gonna know better in the morning, and it's probably gonna have to do a lot with whether SPY's going up and with the crude continues up in the morning, then all your regular names like Apple, Microsoft should spike up. Now, as soon as the crude starts going down, then those stocks are going to go down with it. And then most likely that's when mRNA and these other stocks are going to start going up. So uh, all the bio stocks that are connected with the vaccine that have good sentiment around them. So it's just going to be like wishy-washy. And on top of that, UVXY is the volatility index. So that's the ETF for the volatility index. So, if things are going to spike, which they're going to be a lot of volatility, then the UVXY is going to be a good place to be. But at the same time, they could somehow just like completely destroy the volatility where just like the price is just going up and there's no fear in the market. There's no fear in the market. Yeah, it's definitely putting me off guard. I know Cyberworld did a really good trade this week. He bought before last week. I think it was probably when like Tesla was at $900, and he bought like I think it was like $650 or $700 puts on Tesla, and those went up like 20 times because he bought them for I think like $1 or so a contract, and they went to like $11 or something like that. I don't know what exactly, but they were like 15-20x on all his puts because he got them before all this data became available, and that's when like all the fear in the market and the SPY went from say like 300 or whatever it was at the peak, like 330, and now it went down to like 288. So the stocks all got crushed, and then you just made lots of money on the premium. So JG says GILD mRNA NVAX VIRIBIO are coronavirus bio. Thanks, JG. Yeah, I've heard of a few of those for sure. The GILD and the mRNA and the IBIO, and NVAX seems like a decent company. Hi, Sheldon Snow. It's nice to see you. What are my thoughts on Oxley? They have a big backer in Imperial Brands. Well, my opinion on Oxley is they are crushing it as far as their revenue with their vapes and their edibles. I mean, I think when I go to my dispensary, I'm going to take it easy on the dispensary and a lot of cannabis and all that stuff like that for now. But, every once in a while, I'll buy an edible here and there, or buy like a gram. But when you want to get an edible, say you want to buy chocolate, if you want to buy it from Aurora, it's going to be like $9-10 at the dispensary. Now you want to get it from Oxley, which has it in Foray, they're going to be like $6. So they beat the competition. Then you're going to pay taxes on top, so it's like $6.50. But if you bought the Aurora, you might be paying like $11 or $12 out the door for the same like amount of THC. And their vapes are lower cost than other companies. So I think they're doing good, but Chuck Rifke, I don't know if I really like him or trust him. I know in the past he self-enriched himself. So there's a lot of shares on the balance sheet on Oxley, but yes, you are right. They are backed by Imperial Brands. but I think it's a different backing than it is with, say, with Constellation Brands, or with what happened with, who else? Oh, Chronos with Altria. It's a different type of backing, because it's I'm pretty sure with Oxley, it's like convertible debentures. So that really it puts the upper hand on Imperial Brands. So whereas with Constellation and Canopy, Canopy had the upper hand out of the deal. And the same with Fire and Flower with Couche-Tard. Like um Couche-Tard has the upper hand in that deal with Fire and Flower. I mean, I think Fire and Flower is going to be good, because the deal that they have is that the next time the debentures will be at a higher price and stuff, and eventually Couche-Tard will buy them out at, like, the way it's set up is like $5 or $6, right? So it's set to be good for Fire and Flower, and it should be good for Oxley. But for the time being, I mean, I want to see their financials, and then we'll see. I mean, it's getting to a good price, but we'll see. And you say flour and rolling paper is recession proof. Yeah, I agree. We were talking about that earlier. That I'm bullish on flour, but it's all dependent on what the market thinks, right? If the market's not really thinking about that, when there's more stores across Canada, that's when the bullish momentum. And there's also lots of people that think that in springtime, come like March, that's when everybody sells their stock. But because in the new year in cannabis has been so crappy that we're in uncharted territories, that's not necessarily going to hold true. So I don't know. It's interesting, but as far as the revenues go for all the cannabis companies in Canada. I do believe the top companies that, they're growing a lot of cannabis, their revenues will grow every month because there's going to be more stores across Canada. So yeah, it's interesting. Sheldon Snow says, "Good evening, CSG and JG." Yeah, no, good evening to you guys. It's great to it's I don't know if it's like our third or fourth time we've been doing this Sunday live show, and it's an interesting one tonight. My title was gold, silver, and crude oil. Like, where's money gonna go? Some title like that. But JG says, "Hi Sheldon, I'm on Oxley big time, like $400." Yeah, man, 400 shares. Sheldon Snow says, "It's a start." Yeah, no, it's definitely a start. I look at it, I'm looking at it, we were talking last week about Valens, right? And I thought to myself, I was looking at the lower Bollinger Bands with Valens, and it was around like 320-ish. And was like, maybe if it got down to that level, I might want to get more shares. But I also thought in myself, I'm like, it might go a lot lower than that. And it was like, it did go, but I wish I was like there to get those shares, and then probably like just do it as a flip, a day trade. But I mean, who's to say how low? See, what I'm understanding with Valens, why there's a little bit of bearish uh, with Valens, is they did 17 million EBITDA, but they kind of have the same situation going for them with as MetaFirm Labs. They have all these accounts receivables. So what that is it's from like companies like Hexo who didn't pay MetaFirm Labs yet, or it's Canopy, or all these other companies like Tilray or whoever. And but I listened to Fit Traders. They did a interview with the CFO, I think, and Everett Knight. He's on Twitter, and basically what he's saying is that 81% of the money is coming back after 90 days. So I mean, it just says to me like it is a concern for all the companies who are extractors to get money back from their clients, the LPs. So that's kind of weighing on Valens, but they are doing way better revenues every month. And that's why they have less cash than they did last quarter. So and MetaPharm Labs is going to be reporting in end of March, so that'll be interesting. JG says GRWG is a great company for cannabis related. Yeah, listen, I think if it goes under $5, I'm definitely gonna have my happy glasses on, and I'll probably pick up 100 or 200 shares of GRWG. I My thinking was, well, maybe the market would get really bearish and it could even go down to like $3 or something like really low, because we just don't know. I mean, sure, they can pump it up and say like the SPY goes to 310, but I think it's going to go back down. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe this is our buying time. Realistically, we don't control the markets. We're not the billionaires. We're not the trillionaires. I mean, we don't have the trillions of dollars. So realistically, they can pump the markets. So this could realistically be the bottom. I mean, I'm not saying it's the bottom. I'm not calling it the bottom, but I'm just saying that there's a chance. So if they are, who knows? Sheldon Snow says growing products. GRWG, they do hydroponics. So all the hydroponics, it's like, yeah, I think like soil and stuff like that, like electrical stuff like that for all the companies. And yeah, they're definitely uh they're good. I think they're set to do, what is like one, I think they're like 20 million last quarter, and they're set to do like 26 million this quarter. And over like 2020, my understanding is somewhere like 140 million in revenue. But I don't know, they'll be pretty neutral. I think they're like maybe might lose money because they're kind of in an acquisition, like they're trying to grow their business. So there's risk with dilution on GRWG, because the biggest benefit of GRWG is that they have a really tight float, and they have like nice low expenses, so they get um, net income on quarters. But if they dilute and then they're spending more money, like that could kind of f up their business. Because if you go from having like 35 million shares to having like 60 million or 70 or 80 million of shares, that really changes your company's portfolio. So that, but I do like that they're on the NASDAQ. So um, Sheldon Snow says could be good for a fearful society that wants to stay in their house and grow products. Yeah, who knows, man? Who knows? Everybody just starts growing lots of cannabis. Yeah, that'd be different. James Rossman says, looking at bio companies, the virus is at risk of mutating as coronaviruses are known to mutate. Could be an opportunity, but bio is very risky. Yeah, yeah, the mutating is definitely something that's above my pay grade. As far as I'm not a bio engineer, or like I didn't go graduate from bio school. I barely did good in bio, and I don't think I even did biology, and or I barely passed in like grade 9 or 10. So that's not my expertise, but I do understand science. So it would be something that I could learn for sure, the mutating, but it's not something that I'm probably going to learn. I will see. I mean, if things do get crazy, I'm sure I'll start to read up on it and get some more knowledge. JG says light soil. Sheldon Snow says people may want to grow their own veggies at home. Yeah, I think the smart preppers are growing their veggies at home. See, I don't know if you guys watched my video from yesterday, but it was kind of like a prepper setup. And basically, I'm talking about like, the water and, get your food and stuff like that. But I'm not the biggest prepper. But the biggest preppers, what they do is they'll grow their own veggies. They'll have, hordes of like gold and silver. They'll have like cash, and they'll barter, they'll barter with people for like eggs. Cause, but yeah, I'd love to grow my own veggies, man. I'd love to grow like tomatoes and cucumbers or whatever. My mom, she grows her vegetables. She's got a really nice backyard that she rents. Like she's got the best deal out in Vancouver. Like nobody's got a better deal than what she's got. But she does like vegetables, and now she's got some people that are growing vegetables for her they're gonna get like take home a lot of the vegetables, but then they also give her, because it's her backyard, she'll get like $30 or $40 worth of vegetables every week come like spring. So that's good for her. JG says, how about PW? Yeah, I saw it come up a little bit, but then it kind of came down. So I mean, PW, I don't know. It's an interesting one, but I think the SPY needs to keep coming up. If the SPY goes up, PW could be in play. Uh, but I haven't played it. It kind of spiked. It was just trading around like 1270, and then all of a sudden it was like hit 1350. Then the next day it went to like 1550. So I find like if a stock's like say like at like $9, $10, and then all of a sudden it gets above $15, that really gives it reason for the stock to really like really gradually get momentum and then go to like 19, 20, 24, 25, 26, and even go to like 30, 35 before it crashes and comes down. So, I mean, you see that with SPCE. I've seen it with like Kern or some other stocks. So, JG says asparagus grows back. It's good. I love asparagus. It's really expensive in the stores too, so I never buy it. But I'm not even cooking much right now. But yeah, James Rossman says, "What's my outlook on Beyond Meat right now?" That's a good question. I don't really have an opinion on Beyond Meat. I mean, I do know it's kind of busy. People buy Beyond Meat burgers. It was like a Mucho Burrito uh on Friday night, and people were eating like that was on the order, and then you see it at A&W, or maybe they had it for a bit, or it's like Tim Hortons, so, and McDonald's maybe, but I don't know. I think people eat it, but I don't know. It's not really in it. My mom's had them. She likes them, and I've heard other people like them, but I think it's just like really salty stuff that's just like I don't know. I don't our as far as the stock goes, I mean it has potential to run up. It has a pretty low float. So I mean if it does have good financials, it could, but I don't know. It's a little bit out of my comfort zone, but I would consider doing puts on them or calls if the charts and things like start to, as far as the sentiment goes, start to look good for me. But that's as far as it goes. I'm not gonna camp out and like watch Beyond Meat like to make sure I can get onto that trade and like own it or anything like that. That's not my game. James Rossman says, "Never try them to be fair." Yeah, no, man, it's fine. We all feel like different about things that are new to us, right? We don't really want to um, try things that are new, especially if they seem like not that appetizing. But I mean, I think it has potential. It's just like the same kind of mentality because it's all like to do with like environmental people because they're painting it that eating burgers is bad for you, it's bad for the environment, blah blah blah. So then then they want to go towards Beyond Meat. Yeah, we're helping the environment. We're doing good for the environment, and then they can sleep better at night. So I don't know. Sheldon Snow says easy to grow greens at home. Yeah, well, I'd love to grow greens at home too, man. I'd love to grow some cannabis at home too. I like to grow Northern Light strain. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that strain, but it's really, really nice. That indica. Uh, JG says black bean and kale burger things are better for you and taste decent. I tried these black bean and kale burger. I've never heard of that. Yeah, I like kale. I used to make kale a lot. I tried it back like a while ago. I like it. And yeah, black bean. I had a burrito the other day. Yeah, you get lots of protein from beans. So even like lentils, I used to make a lot of lentils. I did like lentils and rice, and that was super cheap. Like you can eat so cheap if you just eat lots of like rice and lentils. Okay. Sheldon Snow says, we used to grow lights in school last year and grew lettuce, tomato, cucumbers, strawberries, pea, beans with success. That's awesome, Sheldon. School last year. What were you doing in school? JG says, too much cow farts. Yeah. James Rossman says, the vegan trend is strong right now and it's only going further, especially in Europe. So it's definitely something to look at. Yeah, I mean, I like your perspective. I love to hear people from Europe's perspective. So yeah, no, I think you're right. I think in UK is kind of has that mentality. They want to be like environmental. Uh, is it true? Is it pretty big? Are Teslas pretty big in Europe right now in UK, or was it? Did you say you were in Germany? Um, James Rossman says kale is the shit. Haha. Yeah, I like kale. Some people say it's kind of bad for you if you have too much kale, but I like kale. Gold's above 1600. Woo. 1600. Crude's at 46.17. Woo. I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna go up together, because usually in the past it was always crude would go up and then gold would go down. Gold would go up and then crude would go down. But now whenever they like push crude up, now it's like people don't trust that move. They don't trust that move. So they're also putting money into gold as well. So it's very interesting. JG says, yeah, I agree, James. I just don't think Beyond Meat burgers are good for humans, too processed. Beyond Meat can be a good trade sometimes. I think so, man. I think so. Um, you know, you just have to find it when it's like hella low or hella high, and just understand that there's risk behind it, because realistically the fundamentals don't meet the valuation. When you're talking about like a 5.5 billion valuation, and I don't know, they did like 4 million in net income last quarter. So, they really have to do like 60 or 50 million in net income to justify their market cap, and I don't really see that happening anytime soon. So I'm looking at the chart right now, and it went as high. It was like on February 19th, went to $126, and then it came down to it's at 89.65. So it went down to like $75 in the beginning of the year. So that's where it's trading at, like 75. My thinking is it's probably going to go back to $75, but I don't know. If it breaks below $75, like it could go down a lot. I'm telling you, like that stock could realistically go down to like 20 or $30. I'm not even lying. Sheldon Snow says, eat meat, boys, eat meat. Yeah, man, I eat some meat. I love me meat. I had a double burger from White Spot today. James Rossman says, people are big on the environment over in Europe, but we don't have as many vegan options as far as I know. I'm not vegan, but people are very passionate about doing their part to save the environment. Yeah, it's like Greta Thunberg. Isn't she from UK or something like that? I hear like I've heard this. I saw it is basically her dad writes her stories. Like, so she has all these like environmental like views and stuff like that, but her dad just like writes all the stories, or it's like a speech that she goes out and speaks, but it was all like she practiced, and who made the speech was her dad. So it's just like fraudulent, right? Like it's not her own thoughts. So it's just like I don't know, it's just negative. But yeah, I mean, the environmental thing, I mean, I'm all for the environment. I want to see like wildlife prosper and be good. But some of the ways that they're talking about the environmental stuff is just like so ludicrous. I mean, out in Vancouver, people pay carbon tax, right? And what the hell are they doing on the carbon tax to make the environment better? I mean, basically all that money is just going into Justin Trudeau so he can give to other countries or some crap, right? It's just so flawed. So I'm very pessimistic about the whole environmental thing, But I mean, I'm not like, if it's a real cause and it's like good for the environment, I mean, like I support that, but I'm also very like pessimistic on a lot of stuff that's going by. Uh, JG says, I'm not buying it. James Rossman says, she's Swedish. People love her over here. Yeah, I know. I know. People love her. They think she's like the greatest thing since sliced bread. But, you know, I have a pessimistic outlook because when you look at it, it's like David Suzuki, right? David Suzuki, you know, there's negative things about David Suzuki that, you know, he's like driving in these big vehicles and like he's consuming oil and all this crap like that. But meanwhile, he's like trying to guilt like regular poor folk who are just driving their vehicle so they can get to work and they can like pay for food to feed their kids and their family. So it's just like it's just a freaking like it's not right. And these people shouldn't have the power to try to like guilt people that are just trying to survive, you know. Sure, if they made it so that like, oh well, a Tesla costs you like $10,000 and you know you can mortgage it over like 20 years or whatever, so it's like cheaper than paying for the gas, and they made it reasonable, then I can understand that. But when they try to like guilt the regular people into paying carbon tax, I just like I got no time for that. JG says, you guys have good beef, though I believe James, I thought at least. James Rossman says, German meat, beer, and girls are the best for sure. Yeah, I was in Australia in 2003, and there were some like German chicks that were really hot. It was like out by this rainbow beach. Yeah, there were some pretty nice looking German girls there, and in a hostel. So yeah, some of them can be very nice looking. A lot of women from Europe are pretty thin too. You know, and then like in in the city, in Canada, a lot of women are pretty thin. But when you get outside of the cities, like there's a lot of women that are like not very thin, right? Like they'll eat whatever and they're like overweight, right? And so I hear that in Europe a lot more thinner women, like more athletic and all this stuff. Like they want to do more things and all this stuff. So you know, that's cool. But yeah, I mean, women of all sizes can be very attractive too. So I'm not saying like, oh, just like thin women. I don't know who's watching me, but gold. I don't want to be negative towards like women. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, listen. I mean, people can get fat for all types of reasons, right? Like, you could get into a car accident and you're paralyzed and you just can't, you know, exercise, and all of a sudden you get fat, or you know, you get depressed about life and then you start eating a lot, and like things like that. But I'm just like saying, as far as a culture goes, like I think probably more European women are a little thinner. So it's just something I've JG says, yeah, maybe they're a big bone. Yeah, big fat girls need loving. We all need loving in the world. I mean, I think we need to be kinder to each other. And, you know, if we disagree with other people's opinion, don't like get angry at them. Just basically, listen to people. You know, I have no problem listening to people's opinion if they're different than me. Don't just like completely um, ignore it, because some other people might have a really good point of view, and it's good to have to listen to two sides of the story, to not be closed-minded. So I don't know. Yeah, Bitcoin's trading at 86.43, so nothing really big moves in Bitcoin. I mean, you guys asked me about Bitcoin earlier, and so it's trading at like 848 earlier. So it's kind of coming up, I guess, but I'm not really seeing super momentum. And on investing.com said when on March 1st, when it hit, well, that's 15 minutes. So it's a really good indicator. Excuse me. Yeah, Bitcoin is starting to kind of look good. I'd like to see it kind of go above $9,000, or get into that kind of zone. if it's not like a fake, if it's not a fake move. So we'll see. James Rossman says, I love your attitude, man. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. JG, love one another. Just wear a mask. Don't worry about a condom. Well, if you don't want to have kids, I don't think wearing a condom is a bad thing. But you know, that goes without saying. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna get going unless you guys got a little more stuff to talk about. I mean, I'm gonna probably do this next Sunday, so no problem. You guys have been very good to me, and I'll try to do this next Sunday on around 6 o'clock ish, like somewhere around like 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. I'll start it, and I'll probably go for like an hour to 2 hours. Just depends. And that's about like 8:30 Eastern time p.m. or around like 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're subscribed, just hit the notification so you're notified, or follow me at Compound Stock 13. And then when I go live, I'll tweet it, and then you can just like join. But JG says one last one. Okay, what's one last one? I got no problem. NVYTF. Interesting. NVYTF. Yeah, I'm not getting it on. Okay. Novicy STCA. So, I don't know, man. Doesn't look like there's probably a lot of volume on that. That's a problem too on some of these stocks, right? You want to have a lot of volume. So if the volume picks up, then yeah, it could be good, I guess. Well, it had 30. Oh, that's a pretty good volume actually yesterday. On Friday, I mean, 118,000 volume. That's good. Average volume is only 2,700. So if the volume really, February 18th, it went from 87 cents to 213, then it came down to 111, then up to 118, 180, and then down to 146, and it's just kind of coming up. So yeah, coronavirus test update. So I mean, it's just going to be dependent on whether, market's fearful or market's not fearful, and whether investors think that this company has something with it, right? Because a lot of these small ones, they got no cash, right? So their only really way that they're going to bring this product to market is if a bigger company buys them or makes a big deal with them. So that's the thing, right? That's why these small little inky dinky companies that are just kind of like pump and dumps, like they're connected with the coronavirus, but doesn't necessarily like they're going to do anything, right? So yeah, you can play hype and you can make like 10, 20, 30% potential on the stock, but when the fear subsides, like it'll be worth nothing pretty much. Watch it? No, I don't know what you're talking about, JG. Yeah, there's a lot of stocks to watch. I might watch it. I'm not going to promise. I got a lot of other stuff to watch. So if you notice it's spiking, send me a message on Twitter at Compound Stock 13. Sure, I'll look at it. Maybe I'll buy it. Maybe I'll buy 200 shares. Maybe I'll buy 200 shares. I'll play like $400 or something crap like that. And then if it goes up 10, 25%, I'm out. My Instagram, let me see if I can find my Instagram. I do have an Instagram, but I'm not really active on Instagram. I don't. It's at compound interest stock G13. I'll write that. I don't go in there much, but you can message me if you Instagram. Yeah. Yeah, there's so many different things. There's like TikTok, and I built a TikTok Let me see if I can do it. Maybe you guys want to watch this little video before I leave. I'll show you my little TikTok video I did. It's kind of like the video I did yesterday, but to see. Okay, so I'm trying to start it.
Donuts with your host, Compound Interest Stock Guy. Sugar! Woo! 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 Yeah, we get crazy. Crazy! Crazy! I don't think you're crazy. Alright. Yup, peace. I'm out. Hello, guys on TikTok and girls on TikTok. Today we're going to be doing something.
Yeah, that was my crazy. I was doing some donuts yesterday night, JG, and good night, James Rossman. I'll try and join again next Sunday. Yeah, no, I'm glad to have you, James Rossman. You've been very it's good to have you in the chat. Some very interesting opinions from you, and thanks for saying that I've got good quality content. I appreciate it. Much respect. Anyways, I'm gonna get going. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and keep compounding info. Listen to my lingo, and shaka capice. I'm out.